The sun was just beginning to set as Leela and Alexander arrived at the base of the mountain. The ancient temple of Aphrodite barely visible through the thick, verdant jungle. It had taken them hours to reach this secluded place, nestled deep within the hills of Greece, far away from the bustling modern world. This journey had been whispered about for centuries, passed down among seekers of passion, wisdom, and forbidden pleasures. The invitation had come unexpectedly, an elegant scroll sealed with the image of a rose. Its message was cryptic, promising enlightenment to those willing to surrender themselves to the ancient ways. Leela, always drawn to the mystical and the unknown, had immediately suggested they make the pilgrimage. Alexander, her lover of 5 years, had been more skeptical, but his curiosity and the irresistible pull of their connection had ultimately won him over. Now, standing before the overgrown stone steps that led to the temple, they felt the weight of the moment. The air was thick with the scent of jasmine and sandalwood, and the distant sound of water trickling down the nearby stream added to the mystique. A low hum seemed to vibrate in the air, as though the very earth was alive with energy. "Are you ready?" Leela asked, her voice soft but filled with anticipation. Alexander nodded, though his heart raced with a mixture of excitement and uncertainty. "I think so." Together, they began to ascend the steps, the cool stone beneath their feet a sharp contrast to the humid air around them. As they neared the entrance to the temple, they saw that the once ground marble columns were now draped in vines, nature reclaiming its space over centuries. But despite the ruinous state of the structure, there was an undeniable sense of power emanating from it. At the threshold, they hesitated for a moment, both feeling the significance of what lay ahead. Then, without a word, they stepped inside. The interior of the temple was dimly lit, the flickering light from torches casting long shadows on the stone walls. The air inside was cooler, carrying a subtle, intoxicating aroma of incense and flowers. The architecture was a testament to the ancient world's devotion to beauty and sensuality. Graceful arches, intricate carvings of lovers and wine, and statues of the goddess Aphrodite herself, gazing down with an enigmatic smile. "Welcome," came a voice from the shadows. Leela and Alexander turned to see a woman emerge from the dimness, her figure shrouded in a flowing robe of sheer, silken fabric. Her eyes were dark and piercing, framed by long waves of jet-black hair. There was an otherworldly grace to her movements, as though she was a part of the temple itself. "I'm Callista, the keeper of this temple," she said, her voice low and melodic. "You have come seeking Aphrodite's wisdom." Leela and Alexander exchanged a glance. It was as though this woman had seen into their very souls, understood their desires before they had spoken them aloud. "We've come to learn," Leela said, a voice steady despite the nervous excitement fluttering in her chest. "We see something more." Callista smiled, a slow, knowing smile. "You are in the right place. But here, knowledge is not gained through words or thought. It is felt, experienced. The goddess of love does not reveal her truths through reason, but through the body and spirit. Do you understand?" Alexander nodded, though he wasn't entirely sure he did. But something about this place, the atmosphere, the presence of Callista, the very energy that seemed to hum through the air made him feel as though he was on the cusp of understanding something profound. "Come," Callista said, turning to lead them deeper into the temple. "The night is just beginning." They followed her through a narrow hallway that opened into a vast chamber. At the center of the room stood a large pool, its surface shimmering in the light of the torches. The walls were adorned with frescoes depicting scenes of sensuality and worship, lovers embracing under the gaze of the goddess, figures lost in ecstasy as they offered themselves to the divine. There was an aura of sacredness to it, a sense that passion and desire were not sinful here, but celebrated. The temple of Aphrodite was once a place where initiates came to learn the secrets of love, Callista explained, her voice echoing slightly in the chamber. Not just the love between man and woman, but the love of the divine, the love that transcends the physical and touches the eternal. It is through pleasure that one reaches enlightenment. That is the gift Aphrodite bestows. As she spoke, she gestured to a pair of figures seated at the far end of the pool. Leela and Alexander hadn't noticed them at first, but now they saw a man and a woman, their bodies intertwined in a slow, sensual embrace. Their movements were fluid and graceful, as though they were performing a ritual older than time itself. There was no shame in their touch, only a reverence for each other's bodies, as if they were offering themselves to something greater. You, too, will learn these rituals, Callista said softly. But first, you must purify yourselves. She motioned toward the pool, and without hesitation, Leela and Alexander began to undress. The air was cool against their skin as they slipped into the water, the sensation both soothing and electric. The pool was deeper than it appeared, the water enveloping them like a lover's embrace. As they submerged themselves, they felt a strange sensation, as though the water was not just cleansing their bodies but awakening something within them. It was as if the boundaries between them were dissolving, their thoughts and desires merging in the sacred space of the pool. When they emerged, Callista was waiting for them at the edge, her eyes gleaming with approval. "You are ready," she said, leading them to a stone platform at the side of the pool. "The ritual of Aphrodite begins with surrender, to each other, to the goddess, to the universe." She placed her hands gently on Leela's shoulders, guiding her to lie down on the platform. Alexander knelt beside her, his breath quickening as he watched Callista's hands move over Leela's body with practiced ease. It wasn't just a touch, it was an offering, a reverent caress that seemed to connect Leela to something far beyond the physical realm. Callista's fingers traced the contours of Leela's skin, her touch light and deliberate, as if she were invoking the goddess herself. Leela closed her eyes, her breath coming in shallow gasps as her body responded to the sensations. There was no rush, no urgency. Every movement was slow, deliberate, designed to heighten her awareness of her own body and the energy flowing through it. Alexander watched in as Callista's hands moved lower, her touch growing more intimate. It was as though time had slowed, each moment stretching out in exquisite tension. He could feel the energy in the air, a palpable force that seemed to vibrate through the very walls of the temple. His own body ached with desire, but he remained still, entranced by the ritual unfolding before him. Finally, Callista stood and turned to Alexander, her eyes locking with his. "Now, you must complete the ritual," she said, her voice a low whisper. "You are no longer just lovers. You are vessels of the divine." Without a word, Alexander moved to Leela's side, his hands trembling as he touched her. But this time, it was different. It wasn't just about desire or passion. It was as though the temple itself was guiding them, showing them how to move, how to touch, how to give themselves to each other in a way that transcended the physical. Their movements became a dance, slow and deliberate, their bodies attuned to the sacred energy that surrounded them. They were no longer just a people. They were part of something ancient, something timeless. The walls of the temple seemed to pulse with the rhythm of their breath, the frescoes coming alive as they moved together in perfect harmony. As they reached the height of their ecstasy, the air in the chamber seemed to shimmer, the flickering torches casting strange, dancing shadows on the walls. It was as though the goddess herself was watching, her presence palpable in the sacred space they had created. And then, in a final, shattering moment of release, they surrendered themselves completely. The world fell away, leaving only the sensation of each other's bodies, the sound of their breath, and the gentle hum of the universe around them. For what felt like an eternity, they lay entwined on the stone platform, their bodies still trembling with the aftershocks of their union. They were no longer just Leela and Alexander. They had become something more, something sacred, something eternal. Callista stood over them, her face serene, as though she had seen this moment 1,000 times before. "You have been blessed by Aphrodite," she said softly. "You have tasted the divine. But remember, this is only the beginning. There is always more to learn, more to discover." As she spoke, Leela and Alexander felt the deep sense of peace wash over them. They had come to the temple seeking knowledge, seeking something more, and they had found it, but they also knew that this journey was far from over. The temple of Aphrodite had many secrets, and they had only just begun to uncover them. As the night stretched on, the stars twinkling high above the ancient temple, Leela and Alexander knew that they would never be the same. They had been transformed.